Let's take a look at training needs assessment. Needs assessment is important because a manager or other client asking for training, which focuses on closing skill gaps resulting from a lack of knowledge or skill, could really be asking for or needing something else, such as employee motivation, changing perspectives or attitudes, or redesigning workflow. Needs assessment is the first step in the instructional design process, and if it's not properly conducted, any one or more of the following situations could occur. Training may be incorrectly used as a solution to a performance problem when the solution should deal with employee motivation, job design, or better communication or performance expectations. Training programs may have the wrong content, objectives, or methods. Trainees may be sent to training programs for which they do not have the basic skills, prerequisite skills, or confidence needed to learn. Training will not deliver the expected learning, behavior change, or results that a company expects. Money will be spent on training programs that are unnecessary because they're unrelated to the company's business strategy. There are many different causes or pressure points that suggest that training is necessary. These pressure points include performance problems, new technology, internal or external customer requests for training, job design, new legislation, changes in customer preferences, new products, or employees' lack of basic skills. Note that these pressure points do not automatically mean that training is the correct solution. What outcomes result from a needs assessment? Needs assessment provides important input into most of the remaining steps of training design. The needs assessment process results in information related to who needs training and what trainees need to learn, including the tasks in which they need to be trained, plus knowledge, skill, behavior, and other job requirements. Needs assessment helps determine whether the company will outsource its training, like purchase training from a vendor or consultant, or develop training through internal resources. Determining exactly what trainees need to learn is critical for the next step in the instructional design process, which is identifying learning outcomes and objectives. Though identifying the learning outcomes and resources available for training, the needs assessment also provides information that helps a company choose the appropriate training or development method. Needs assessment also provides information regarding the outcomes that should be collected to evaluate training effectiveness. Stakeholders include persons in the organization who have an interest in training and development, and their support is important for determining its success or failure. Stakeholders include company leaders and top-level managers, mid-level managers, trainers, and employees who are end users of training. There are several ways to ensure that stakeholders are involved in the needs assessment. One way is through establishing formal advisory groups that meet on a regular basis to discuss learning issues. Another way is to ensure that relevant stakeholders are included in interviews, focus groups, crowdsourcing, and surveys used for needs assessment. Traditionally, only trainers were concerned with the needs assessment process. Employees have several interests in needs assessment. From an organizational perspective, they're concerned with how the company values learning. Is learning rewarded? Does learning help them improve their job performance or meet their career goals? Is it easy to get formal and informal learning opportunities? They also want to know if their manager can be expected to encourage them to take courses and programs or informally learn, and if they'll provide support to apply what they've learned. Employees have to determine if they are motivated to learn, as well as what tasks, knowledge, skills, or competencies they need for their current job or career. Company leaders are usually involved in determining whether training meets the company's strategy and then providing the appropriate financial resources. Subject matter experts, known as SMEs, are employees, academics, managers, technical experts, trainers, and even customers or suppliers who are knowledgeable. A key issue with subject matter experts is making sure that they're knowledgeable about the content that training must cover, as well as realistic enough to be able to prioritize what content is critical to cover in the time allotted for the subject of the curriculum. SMEs must also have information that is relevant to the company's business and have an understanding of the company's language, tools, and products. It's also important to get a sample of job incumbents involved in the process because they tend to be the most knowledgeable about the job. Several methods are used to conduct needs assessment, including observing employees performing the job, using online technology, reading technical manuals and other documentation, interviewing subject matter experts, conducting focus groups with SMEs, asking SMEs to complete surveys designed to identify the tasks and knowledge, skills, and abilities and other characteristics required for a job. Online technology is available to monitor and track employee performance. This information is useful for identifying training needs and providing employees with feedback regarding their skills, strengths, and weaknesses. In call centers, for example, technology provides an ongoing assessment of performance. Because no single method of conducting needs assessment is superior to others, multiple methods are usually used. The methods vary in the type of information as well as the level of detail provided. The advantage of surveys is that information can be collected from a large number of persons. Also, surveys allow many employees to participate in the needs assessment process. Face-to-face and telephone interviews are time-consuming, but more detailed information regarding training needs can be collected. Focus groups are a type of SME interview that involves a face-to-face meeting with groups of subject matter experts in which the questions that are asked relate to a specific training need. Crowdsourcing can be used for training needs assessment. In this context, crowdsourcing refers to asking stakeholders to provide information for needs assessment. With the increasing emphasis on total quality management known as TQM, many companies are also using information about other companies' training practices, a process known as benchmarking, to help determine the appropriate type, level, and frequency of training. This section examines the three elements of the needs assessment process: organizational analysis, person analysis, and task analysis. This figure illustrates the needs assessment process. In practice, organizational analysis, person analysis, and task analysis are not conducted in any particular order. Organizational analysis involves identifying whether training supports the company's strategic direction, whether managers, peers, and employees support training activity, and what training resources are available. Some combination of documentation, interviews, focus groups, or surveys of managers, individuals in the training function, and employees should be used to answer these questions. Person analysis helps identify employees who need training. Lack of training or poor training is one possible explanation. This is often referred to as a gap analysis. A gap analysis includes determining who is responsible and what is responsible for the difference between employees' current and expected performance. The need for training may result from the pressure, including performance problems, changes in the job, or use of new technology. Person analysis also helps determine employees' readiness for training. Readiness for training refers to whether 1. Employees have the personal characteristics, the ability, attitudes, beliefs, and motivation necessary to learn program content and apply it on the job, and 2. The work environment that will facilitate learning and not interfere with performance. This process includes evaluating person characteristics, input, output, consequences, and feedback. Task analysis is the description of work activities, including tasks performed by the employee and the knowledge, skills, and abilities required to complete the tasks. A job is a specific position requiring the completion of certain tasks. A task is the employee's work activity in a specific job. Task analysis should be undertaken only after the organizational analysis has determined that the company wants to devote time and money to training. Why? Task analysis is time-consuming. It's a tedious process that involves a large time commitment to gather and summarize data from many different persons in the company, including managers, job incumbents, and trainers. Organizational analysis involves identifying whether training supports the strategic direction, employees support training, and what training resources are available. The following provides questions that trainers should address in organizational analysis. Some combination of documentation, interviews, focus groups, or surveys of managers, individuals in the training function, and employees should be used to answer these questions. Questions to ask in organizational analysis. How might the training content affect our employees' relationship with customers? How does this program align with the strategic needs of the business? Should the organizational resources be devoted to this program? What do we need from managers and peers for this training to succeed? Whose support do we need? The strategic role of training influences the frequency and type of training and how the training function is organized in the organization. In companies in which training is expected to contribute to the achievement of business strategies and goals, the amount of money allocated to training and the frequency of training will likely be higher than in companies in which training is done haphazardly or with no strategic intent. A number of studies have found that peer and manager support for training is critical, along with employee enthusiasm and motivation to attend training. The key factors for success are a positive attitude among peers, managers, and employees about participation in training activities, managers' and peers' willingness to provide information to trainees about how they can use knowledge, skills, abilities, or behaviors learned in training programs to perform their jobs more effectively, and opportunities to use training content on the job. If peers and managers' attitudes and behaviors are not supportive, employees are not likely to apply training content on the job. It is necessary to identify whether the company has the budget, time, and expertise for training. One of the questions that the company must answer is whether it has the resources like time, money, and expertise to build or develop training programs itself, or whether it should try to buy them from a vendor or consulting firm. This is known as the buy versus build decision. One way is to identify training resources for companies that have similar operations or departments located across the country or the world to share ideas and practices. Person analysis helps identify employees who need training. Lack of training or poor training is one possible explanation. This is often referred to as gap analysis. A gap analysis includes determining what is responsible for the difference between employees' current and expected performance. Readiness for training refers to whether, first, employees have the personal characteristics necessary to learn program content and apply it on the job, and second, the work environment that will facilitate learning. A major pressure point for training is poor or substandard performance. Poor performance is indicated by customer complaints, low performance ratings, or on-the-job incidents such as accidents and unsafe behavior. Another potential indicator of the need for training is if the job changes such that the current levels of performance need to be improved or employees must be able to complete new tasks. Person characteristics refer to employee knowledge, skill, ability, and attitudes. Input relates to the instructions that tell employees what, how, or when to perform. Input also refers to the resources that the employees are given to help them perform. These resources may include equipment, time, or budget. Output refers to the job performance standards. Consequences refer to the type of incentives that employees will receive for performing well. Feedback refers to the information that employees receive while they're performing. Interviews or questionnaires can be used to measure personal characteristics, input, output, consequences, and feedback. Person characteristics, input, output, consequences, and feedback influence the motivation to learn. Motivation to learn is the trainee's desire to learn the content of a training program. Besides considering the factors of personal characteristics, input, output, consequences, and feedback in determining whether training is the best solution to a performance problem, managers should also take them into account when selecting which employees will attend a training program. Basic skills refer to skills that are necessary for employees to perform on the job and learn the content of training programs successfully. Basic skills include cognitive ability and reading and writing skills. Trainers need to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of trainees before designing a training program. The skill weaknesses that are identified can be used to determine prerequisites that trainees need or must acquire before entering a training program. How do trainers identify skill gaps? First, trainers collect general information through position-specific training materials and job descriptions. They also observe the job to become familiar with the necessary skills. Next, trainers meet with subject matter experts, including employees, managers, engineers, or others who are familiar with the job. With the help of those SMEs, trainers identify a list of regularly performed activities and prioritize the list according to importance. Finally, trainers identify the skills and skill levels that are needed to perform the activities or job tasks. Research shows that cognitive ability influences learning and job performance. Cognitive ability includes 3 dimensions: verbal comprehension, quantitative ability, and reasoning ability. Verbal comprehension refers to a person's capacity to understand and use written and spoken language. Quantitative ability refers to how fast and accurately a person can solve math problems. Reasoning ability refers to a person's capacity to invent solutions to problems. Research shows that cognitive ability is related to successful performance in all jobs. The importance of cognitive ability for job success increases as the job becomes more complex. Trainees' level of cognitive ability also can influence how well they can learn in training programs. To identify employees without the cognitive ability to succeed on the job or in training programs, companies use cognitive ability tests. Readability refers to the difficulty level of written materials. Material used in training should be evaluated to ensure that its reading level does not exceed that of required by the job. Self-efficacy is an employee's belief that they can perform their job or learn the content of training programs successfully. Employees' self-efficacy level can be increased by letting employees know that the purpose of training is to try to improve performance rather than to identify areas in which employees are incompetent. Situational constraints include lack of proper tools and equipment, materials and supplies, budgetary support, and time. Social support refers to managers' and peers' willingness to provide feedback and reinforcement. If an employee has the knowledge, skills, abilities, and behavior needed to perform, but do not have the proper tools and equipment needed, their performance will be inadequate. To ensure that the work environment enhances trainees' motivation to learn, managers should take the following steps. Provide materials, time, job-related information, and other work aids necessary for employees to use new skills or behavior before participating in training programs. Speak positively about the company's training programs to employees. Let employees know that they're doing a good job and when they're using training content in their work. Encourage workgroup members to involve each other in trying to use new skills on the job by soliciting feedback and sharing training experiences and situations in which training content has been helpful. And finally, provide employees with time and opportunities to practice and apply new skills or behaviors to their work. Poor or substandard performance can occur on the job because employees do not know at what level they're expected to perform. If employees do not believe that rewards or incentives for performance are adequate, they'll be unlikely to meet performance standards even if they have the necessary knowledge, behavior, skills, or attitudes. Norms refer to accepted standards of behavior for work group members. Performance problems can result when employees do not receive feedback regarding the extent to which they're meeting performance standards. Training may not be the best solution to this type of problem if employees know what they're supposed to do, output, but do not understand how close their performance is to the standard. Employees need to be given specific, detailed feedback of effective and ineffective performance. For employees to perform to a standard, feedback needs to be given frequently, not just during a yearly performance evaluation. To determine whether training is needed to solve a performance problem, managers need to analyze characteristics of the performer, input, output, consequences, and feedback. Managers should assess the following. Does it have the potential to cost the company a significant amount of money from lost productivity or customers? Do employees know how to perform effectively? Can employees demonstrate the correct knowledge or behavior? Were performance expectations clear? and were positive consequences offered for good performance. If employees lack the knowledge and skill to perform a job and the other factors are satisfactory, training is needed. If employees have the knowledge and skill to perform, but input, output, consequences, or feedback is inadequate, training may not be the best solution. It is also important to consider the relationships among a critical job issue, a problem or opportunity that is critical to the success of a job within a company, a critical process issue, a problem or opportunity that is critical to the success of business process, and the critical business issue, a problem or opportunity that is critical to the success of the company. If the critical issue, critical process issue, and critical business issue are related, training should be a top priority because it will have a greater effect on business outcomes and results and will likely receive greater management support. Training and development is only one of several possible solutions and addresses issues related specifically to knowledge gaps, sharing knowledge and skills, informal learning, and manager and supervisor support. Task analysis results in a description of work activities, including tasks performed by the employee and the knowledge, skills, and abilities required to complete the tasks. A job is a specific position requiring the completion of certain tasks. A task is the employee's work activity in a specific job. To complete tasks, employees must have specific levels of knowledge, skill, ability, and other considerations known as KSAOs. Knowledge includes facts or procedures, like the chemical properties of gold. Skill indicates competencies in performing a task. Negotiating a skill in getting another person to agree with a certain course of action. Ability includes the physical and mental capacities to perform a task. The spatial ability, the ability to see a relationship between objects in physical space. Others refers to considerations under which tasks are performed. These conditions include identifying the equipment and environment that the employee works in, like the need to wear an oxygen mask, work in extremely hot conditions, and so on, as well as time constraints for a task like deadlines, safety considerations, or other performance standards. Task analysis should be undertaken only after organizational analysis has determined that the company wants to devote time and money for training. A task analysis involves selecting the jobs to be analyzed, developing a primary list of tasks performed on the job by interviewing and observing expert employees and their managers, and talking with others who have performed a task analysis. Validate or confirm the primary list of tasks. Identify the knowledge, skills, or tasks that are difficult to learn or prone to errors, such as decision-making or problem-solving tasks. Task analysis helps trainers understand the need and impact of training interventions. The necessary capabilities may vary from one business unit to another and even across roles within a single business unit. As a result, many companies are using competency models to help them identify the knowledge, skills, and personal characteristics, like attitudes and personalities, needed for successful performance in a job. Competency models are also useful for ensuring that training and development systems are contributing to the development of such knowledge, skills, abilities, and personal characteristics. Traditionally, needs assessment has been involved in identifying knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks. However, a current trend in training is for needs assessment to focus on competencies, especially for managerial positions. Competencies are a set of skills, knowledge, or abilities and personal characteristics that enable employees to perform their jobs successfully. A competency model identifies the competencies necessary for each job. Models describe competencies that are common for an entire occupation, organization, job family, or specific job. Competency models can be used for performance management. However, one of the strengths of competency models is that they're useful for a variety of HR practices, including recruiting, selection, training, and development. Competency models can be used to help identify the best employees to fill open positions and to serve as the foundation for development plans that allow employees and their managers to target specific strengths and development areas. The competencies included in competency models vary according to the company's business strategy and goals. They can include sales, leadership, interpersonal, technical, and other types of competencies. Competency models typically included the name of the competency, the behaviors that represent proficiency in the competency, and the levels that include descriptions represented demonstrated levels of mastery or proficiency. One way to understand competency models is to compare them to job analysis. As you may recall from other classes or experiences, job analysis refers to the process of developing a description of the job, the tasks, duties, and responsibilities, and the specifications, knowledge, skills, and abilities that an employee must have to perform it. How does job analysis compare to competency models? Job analysis is a more work and task focused, that is, what is accomplished, whereas competency modeling is more worker focused, how objectives are met or how work is accomplished. Focusing on the how versus the what provides valuable information for training and development. A recent study asked competency modeling experts like consultants and HR practitioners, as well as academics and industrial psychologists, to compare and contrast competency modeling and job analysis. The study found that several differences between job analysis and competency models exist. Competency models are more likely to link competencies and the business goals. Competency models provide descriptions of competencies that are common for an entire occupational group, level of jobs, or an entire organization. Job analysis describes what is different across jobs, occupational groups, or organizational levels. Finally, job analysis generates specific knowledge, skills, and abilities for particular jobs. It's used to generate specific requirements to be used for employee selection. The competencies generated by competency modeling are more general and believed to have greater application to a wider variety of purposes, including selection, training, employee development, and performance management. Another way to think of the competency model is by considering performance management. Unfortunately, many performance management systems suffer from a lack of agreement on what outcomes should be used to evaluate performance. Manager-employee discussions about performance deficiency tend to lack specificity. By including the areas of personal capability that enable employees to perform their jobs successfully, competency models ensure an evaluation of what gets done and how it gets done. Performance feedback can be directed towards specific, concrete examples of behavior, and knowledge, skills, and abilities, and other characteristics that are necessary for success are clearly described. How are competencies identified and competency models developed? This figure shows the process used to develop a competency model. First, the business strategy is identified. Second, the job or position to be analyzed is identified. Third, effective and ineffective performers are identified. Fourth, the competencies responsible for effective and ineffective performance are identified. Fifth, the model is validated. That is, a determination is made as to whether the competencies included in the model truly are related to effective performance. Competency models are useful for training and development in several ways. They identify behaviors needed for effective job performance. These models ensure that feedback given to employees as part of development programs, such as 360-degree feedback, relates specifically to individual and organizational success. They provide a tool for determining what skills are necessary to meet today's needs, as well as the company's future skill needs. They can be used to evaluate the relationship between the company's current training programs and present needs, and they can be used to evaluate how well the offerings relate to anticipated future skill needs. Further, they help determine what skills are needed at different career points. They provide a framework for ongoing coaching and feedback to develop employees for current and future roles. They create a roadmap for identifying and developing employees who may be candidates for managerial positions, like through succession planning, and they provide a common set of criteria that are used for identifying appropriate development training and learning activities for employees, as well as for evaluating and rewarding them. Competencies are a set of knowledge, skills, and abilities and personal characteristics that enable employees to perform their jobs successfully. Needs assessment is often skipped for several reasons based on assumptions such as training is always the issue or is mandated, it's too costly, takes too long, and it's too complex, and managers will not cooperate. Despite the constraints, for conducting a needs assessment, it's necessary to determine if a problem or pressure point exists and to identify the best solution, which could be training. However, even if managers demand a training course right now, needs assessment should still be conducted. There are several ways to conduct a rapid needs assessment. A rapid needs assessment refers to a needs assessment that's done quickly and accurately, but without sacrificing the quality of the process or outcomes. The key to conducting a rapid needs assessment is choosing the needs assessment methods that will provide the results you can have the greatest confidence in while using the fewest resources like time, money, and subject matter experts. There are several ways to conduct a rapid needs assessment. First, the scope of the needs assessment depends on the size and potential pressure point. If the pressure point seems to be local and has a potentially small impact on the business, then the information gathering part of the needs assessment could consist of only a few interviews with managers and job incumbents. If the pressure point will have a larger impact on the business, then more information gathering should be conducted. If, after interviewing SMEs and job incumbents, you can tell that you're not learning anything new about the job, then interviewing could be stopped. Second, consider using already available sources of data collected for other purposes. Finally, be prepared by understanding the business. The first step in successful training efforts is to determine that a training needs exists through a process known as needs assessment. Needs assessment involves 3 steps: organizational analysis, person analysis, and task analysis. Various methods, including observation, interviews, and surveys or questionnaires, are used to conduct a needs assessment.